At 7 years old, my grandparents' freezer both intrigued and frightened me. I still remember the rush of cold, the wave of scents that would overcome you when you opened it. The thing was filled to the brim. Old tofuti tubs stacked on top of cottage cheese containers of a bygone era. Sometimes you would open it and a 1984 brisket would practically leap into your arms, almost begging to be taken out of its misery. The freezer was a cornucopia of gone but not forgotten meals. Every time a fresh dinner was cooked, you could bet that the scraps would end up there. Perhaps not to be enjoyed on its own again, but maybe to be reanimated and enlisted into a new army of old food as a stew or salad. How mayonnaise will travel. There was no official Tupperware to be found. Why would you throw away a perfectly good piece of BPA plastic if you could label it with masking tape and fill it up again and then leave it in your freezer for months, maybe even years? I cringed every time Grandma went to the freezer because I never knew what ancient item might be unearthed for me to eat. But there was one dish that I feared most, the most horrific, the most terrifying, the most death-defying item of them all, Grandma's pea soup. The day is still crystal clear in my mind. The day she brought out the vat of pea soup. To understand this day, first you have to understand Grandma P. A Great Depression-era daughter of immigrants, she worked her way through school and hustled her way through life. With just a few cents a day, she would get the L from the south side of Chicago to Northwestern Teachers College in Evanston. Working in the family store was not enough for her. She craved more. But in those days, as a young Jewish woman, all she could aspire to was teaching. B's life had taught her that you have to work for every penny. And when you finally have something, you hold on to it forever. She rocked reusable grocery bags before they were cool. And she would send me to 3 different stores, clutching a handful of coupons just to save 95 cents. In one word, Grandma was a saver. She would often wear her clothes until they were long out of fashion, and then offer them to me. She was getting too thin to wear them anyway. She thought I might just be thick enough to still fit into the bell-bottoms that once hugged her athletic PE teacher body, but now hung slack on her 4'9" frame. As a 21-year-old image-conscious Hollywood type, I, of course, took offense to her goodwill. I now know that she wasn't trying to put me down by noting my ample waist. For her, it was a compliment. It was a sign that my family did well, and therefore I ate well. To be scrawny and underfed was an embarrassment, and she still couldn't shake the criticism that was whispered through the alleyways on the south side or in the old country when someone didn't have enough and looked like it. If I had understood this as a child, then the pea soup incident, as I now refer to it, may never have happened. Why don't you try some pea soup? Grandma innocently asked. I don't like pea soup. I spit back full of a 7-year-old's piss and vinegar. Actually, I had never tried pea soup. But I took one look at the vapor billowing off the vat. I knew I didn't want it. Just try it, she replied. Rolling my eyes, I puffed up my chest and shot back. Why should I try it if I know I won't like it? How about I make a little bowl for you so you can see? No thanks. Grandma was not one to take no for an answer. So she just began to chop some pea soup off of the block and into a bowl. Just take two bites, and if you don't like it, you don't need to finish it. Why, Grandma? I shrieked, if I take 2 bites, I'll get my germs all in it, and then you won't be able to put it back into the vat of pea soup. I feel kind of bad now calling it the vat to her face. She took pride in her ability to knit together a meal from uncommon combinations of food. But these adventurous aberrations didn't suit my palate fresh. There was no way I was going to be taking them on after a quick thaw. It was a standoff. Our eyes locked, each more determined than the other to stand her ground. But I knew that if I declined pea soup today, it would just be back for me tomorrow. There was no escaping Bee's will. If she wants you to have pea soup, you will have it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you will have it. I relented. As the bowl ceaselessly circled in the microwave, I watched the frozen block soften and melt, and then begin to bubble up like the emotions raging inside me. Lunch was served. I sat over that bowl for what seemed like hours, pea vapors wafting into my nose. I just kept reminding myself, just 2 bites. Just 2 bites and she'll go away. I scrunched up my face, as only an ornery 7-year-old can. And I took a bite. Well, what do you think? She calmly asked. I was raging inside, and here she was, cool as a cucumber, cool as that foul freezer. I hate it. Which wasn't true. I was so busy firing daggers at her with my eyes that I hadn't had time to actually taste what I had eaten. Just try one more bite, she insisted. I took a breath and swallowed down 1 more spoonful. Then I quickly thrust the bowl away from me. See, I hate it. I told you I would. Now you put it back into the vat. Her feathers not ruffled in the least, Grandma calmly removed the bowl and brought it back to the kitchen. Well, at least you tried it, she shouted over the counter. That's when I realized this wasn't about pea soup at all. To her, this was a matter of survival. If you don't eat your pea soup, if you don't take your PE class, if you don't steel yourself against the pressures of the world, your petite little body will buckle at the first sign of trouble. And now, 3 decades later, I'm deadlocked again. Only I'm the one peddling the pea soup. You see, now I have a 7-year-old daughter. She's the smallest one in her class. She's healthy, but the doctors have said that without intervention, her adult height will be 4'9", 4'10", if we're lucky. She couldn't escape my grandmother's good genes. This girl classifies herself as a half-vegetarian, which means she hates to eat anything other than Annie's macaroni and cheeseburgers and a very particular kind of Quaker instant oatmeal. She has the privilege to be picky. But if she rejects pea soup, what will the consequence be? No one will whisper. No one will bully her. No one will suffer. There's no way that she could understand the sacrifices those made before her to give her the option to reject her food. I don't have the words to explain it to her. So I honor my grandmother's legacy the only way I know how. By scooting her burger aside to make room for just a few spoonfuls of peas. Calmly setting the plate in front of her and saying, just 2 bites.